Kia ora koutou. Welcome, day 2. For those that haven't joined me before, I am a trauma sensitive yoga facilitator, big mouthful. What it means is I endeavour to offer a practice that is trauma informed. So this practice I'm offering to you, I encourage you to take a moment to make sure you feel comfortable in the space where you are. The practice will be a gentle practice. I will mostly teach from the chair today and offer forms from the mat as well, so moving between chair and mat. Each day the practice will be different, and at any time you're welcome to move into a resting form that works for you. So a resting form could be seated, it could be lying down, it could be on your side. So finding a resting form that works for you. And so maybe you might want to check out what is a resting form for you right now. So if you feel that you don't want to continue the practice for a short time or all of it, you can move into a resting form. And then if you like, moving to a place to explore your practice. Now that may be seated on a chair, on your mat, or maybe standing. I'm going to start with seated. And if you like, maybe taking a moment to look around your space. Maybe noticing where you are in your bubble, where you are in your home. Maybe looking behind you or to your side. And perhaps noticing that you're breathing, that your breath is with you, and it's always there. Then, if you like, taking a breath, and perhaps bringing your awareness to notice where you make contact with the ground. One way could be to look. Another way could be to move your feet, maybe lifting and lowering, and maybe moving your feet. You might notice sensation where you make contact with the ground. You might not. We don't always feel sensation. In fact, it's quite normal not to. So maybe moving your feet. Forgot to say this practice will go for just under an hour. Then in your own time, guiding yourself back to your neutral and perhaps experimenting with sitting up tall, maybe lengthening your spine and breathing. Maybe lengthening your spine. Perhaps noticing that your breath is with you. It ebbs and flows, comes and goes, and it's always there. So perhaps noticing your breath is with you. And then if you like, moving to explore, moving your head and neck. So one option could be to bring your chin to your shoulder. And in your own time, moving your chin to your other shoulder. If you like, moving your chin horizontally. Perhaps moving your chin from one side to your other side. Another option could be lifting and lowering your chin. Maybe moving your chin vertically. So if you like, dropping your chin to your midline And lifting your chin, maybe looking up, and maybe moving your chin. Once again, a possibility you might feel sensation in your neck, and knowing it's quite normal not to feel sensation. Perhaps moving your chin. If you're interested, maybe bringing your attention to your shoulders and perhaps moving your shoulders. But how you move is up to you, but maybe lifting and lowering, that's an option. Perhaps moving your shoulders. Another option could be to move your shoulders in circles. If you're interested, maybe moving your shoulders and breathing, noticing your breath is with you. Maybe lifting and lowering, or perhaps moving in circles. Finding your way back to neutral in your own time. Maybe taking a breath. Perhaps bringing your awareness to notice that you are breathing. And one way you could do this is to perhaps count your breath. So counting each breath until you get to 3 breaths and then starting again. So maybe counting your breath, counting to 3 breaths and then starting again. Perhaps noticing that you're breathing. Knowing there's no right or wrong way to breathe here. Maybe noticing that your breath is with you. Then if you like, perhaps moving to explore some cats and cows. So I'm going to offer cats and cows on the mat next, but for now I'm going to offer cats and cows seated. So perhaps lifting your front torso, lifting your chin and looking up. And then in your own time, maybe tucking your chin, curling your spine and looking down. So there's 2 movements, maybe looking up, maybe looking down. And you're welcome to move in your own rhythm. So putting those 2 forms together, if you like, and moving in your own rhythm. If you're on your mat, what you may like to do is bring your awareness to notice where you place your hands, where you place your feet. Maybe dipping your spine, lifting your chin and looking up. And then in your own time, perhaps curling your spine, tucking your chin and looking down. So you're welcome to move at your own pace. This is your practice. Maybe looking up, maybe looking down. If you're interested, you may like to coordinate your breathing with your movement. So possibly breathing in as you move in one direction and perhaps breathing out as you move in another direction. So if you like, breathing and moving. And if you're moving your spine, you might feel sensation in your spine. That's only a possibility. Then if you like, finding your way back to your neutral, perhaps taking a breath. And if you like, moving to explore lifting and lowering your arm, maybe lifting and lowering your leg, or perhaps lifting and lowering both. So maybe lifting and lowering your leg, or perhaps your arm, or maybe both. And if you're on all fours, maybe lifting your leg, perhaps lifting your arm, maybe lifting both, and breathing. I've just noticed that the floor may be a little bit cut out, so I'm just going to move the camera slightly. Sorry about that. It may be more useful. So maybe lifting and lowering your arm, perhaps lifting and lowering your leg, or maybe lifting and lowering both. Or perhaps exploring moving your leg, maybe moving your arm, and breathing. Finding your way back to neutral in your own time. If you like, taking a breath and perhaps moving to explore your torso. So maybe moving your torso. One option could be to move your torso in circles, or forward and back. If you like to move on your mat, maybe moving your torso, maybe moving your torso in circles, or perhaps forward and back. And breathing, noticing your breath is with you. Maybe moving your torso. And knowing you're always welcome to move in any way you like. You can move into another form. There's no requirement to do as I say. Perhaps moving your torso and breathing. Finding your way back to your neutral in your own time. So if the next form I'm going to offer is, I'm going to offer it from a chair first, so I'll describe that first. What you may like to do is bring your hands to your knees or legs, perhaps leaning forward and maybe raising your arms. So maybe bringing your hands to your legs, in fact leaning forward and raising your arms. So you can do that in your own rhythm, at your own pace. Maybe raising your arms. If you're on your mat, maybe moving to all fours and perhaps bringing your hands to the front of your mat. If you like, bringing the weight to your hands and maybe looking up. In your own time, maybe moving your torso back to your ankles, perhaps bringing weight to your hands and looking up. Maybe moving forward and back. Perhaps leaning forward and raising your arms. Maybe moving forward and back. And finding your way to neutral when you're ready. Then if you like, perhaps moving to explore a downward dog. So downward dogs can be explored on a chair. You may like to extend your legs, maybe raising your arms. It's available, maybe moving your feet. So maybe extending your legs, raising your arms and perhaps lifting and lowering. Knowing how much you raise your arms is up to you. If you're on your mat, what you may like to do is bring your awareness to notice where you place your hands and your feet, perhaps looking, maybe moving. Then if you like, tucking your toes. And maybe one option could be lifting and lowering your knees, maybe lifting and lowering. Another option could be lifting and lowering both knees. That's a choice. If it's available, maybe lifting and lowering your torso, perhaps lifting and lowering. Maybe moving in and out of the form in your own rhythm. So if you're seated, maybe raising your arms, perhaps extending your legs and breathing. Exploring your expression of downward dog. And then if you like, moving into a resting form that's useful for you. So if you're seated, you might like to bring your elbows to your knees and perhaps rest your forehead on your hands. That's a choice. If you're on your mat, maybe sitting back on your ankles, perhaps resting your forehead on your hands and breathing. So you're welcome to move in your resting form. If you like, bring your awareness to notice where you make contact with the ground. Maybe looking, perhaps moving. You might notice the sensation of your breath. You might notice the sensation of your breath at the tip of your nose or your mouth, or perhaps moving in your torso. So perhaps finding a resting form, maybe noticing the sensation of your breath and breathing. So perhaps noticing the sensation of your breath. And in your own time, you might like to find your way to upright, perhaps to your expression of standing mountain. So standing mountain or seated mountain. If you're seated or standing, maybe bring your awareness to notice where you place your feet, where you make contact with the ground. Maybe standing up tall, perhaps lengthening your spine. Maybe bringing your torso and shoulders in line with your seat. And if you like, bringing your head to balance on your shoulders. So finding your expression of seated or standing mountain. Maybe moving your feet, perhaps standing tall. If you like, bringing your head, moving your head to balance on your shoulders and breathing. Finding your expression of standing mountain. And if you like, taking a moment to bring your awareness to notice that you're breathing. And if you like, maybe counting your breath, or perhaps if you can feel your breath in your torso, maybe taking your hand to that part Maybe bringing your awareness to notice the sensation of your breath. Perhaps noticing that your breath is always with you. Ebbs and flows, comes and goes, and it's always there. Then if you like, moving to explore, moving your arms. So how you move your arms is up to you. So maybe moving your arms, perhaps lifting and lowering, or maybe bringing your hands to touch above your head. So whether you're seated or standing, maybe moving your arms. If you like, maybe synchronizing your breathing with your movement. Perhaps breathing in as you move in one direction, maybe breathing out as you move in the opposite direction. So perhaps breathing and moving. If you're moving your arms, there is a possibility you might feel sensation in your arms. Finding your way back to neutral in your own time. Finding your expression of standing or seated mountain. Maybe sitting up tall, maybe bringing your head to balance on your shoulders and breathing. And if you're interested, maybe crossing your arms, perhaps bringing your hands to your shoulders. If your hands are on your shoulders, you might feel the sensation of where your hands make contact with your shoulders. So if you like, crossing your arms and breathing. Perhaps noticing your breath is with you, knowing you're always welcome to move in the form. And then in your own time, maybe loosening your arms, perhaps crossing your arms in the opposite direction. And you might notice this feels different. So it might feel different. It might not, and that's okay. Right, bring your awareness to notice that you're breathing. And in your own time, perhaps loosening your arms, maybe giving them a bit of a shake. Perhaps bringing your hands into your line of vision. So if you like, bringing your hands into your line of vision. Maybe bringing your hands in contact. Maybe bring one hand in contact with your other hand. Perhaps looking at your hands, maybe moving your hands. And then, just to keep me on track, an Alzheimer's exercise, maybe bringing your thumb and index finger together. Thumb and little finger today. Yeah, thumb and little finger. And thumb and little finger. And if you like, rotating thumb and little finger to the top. Thumb and little finger to the top. So maybe rotating thumb and little finger to the top. Perhaps exploring moving your thumb and little finger. Humouring me while I do my Alzheimer's exercises. And then in your own time, you might want to reverse that. So maybe bringing thumb and little finger and rotating them down. So thumb, lowering thumb and little finger, lowering thumb and little finger. And breathing, noticing your breath is with you. Maybe rotating thumb and little finger. And then, if you like, giving your hands a bit of a shake. And finding your way to neutral. And if you like, moving to explore a forward fold. So I'll offer the seated first and then standing. So if you like, maybe bringing your hands to your knees and perhaps tucking your chin. That may be one option, possibly leaning forward, or maybe bringing your hands further down your legs. So maybe leaning forward, perhaps tucking your chin, and maybe bringing your hands further down your legs and breathing. Exploring your forward fold. If you're standing, what you may like to do is maybe bringing your hands to your upper legs, perhaps tucking your chin. Another option could be to bring your elbows to your knees, maybe tucking your chin. And knowing you're always welcome to move in the form. So maybe leaning forward. At any time, you're welcome to move in and out of the form. So perhaps tucking your chin, maybe leaning forward. Maybe moving in and out of the form. If you like, tucking your chin, maybe bringing your hands further down your legs, perhaps leaning forward and breathing. Exploring your forward fold. Maybe moving in and out of the form. Finding your way back to upright, to your expression of seated or standing mountain. Perhaps taking a breath. And then if you like, leaning to your side. And maybe dropping your arm to one side. That could be one option. Or another option could be raising one arm and leaning to your side. And maybe leaning to your side and breathing. Perhaps leaning to your side and breathing. You might feel some sensation through the side of your torso, and that's only a possibility. It's quite normal not to feel sensation. In your own time, you might like to guide yourself back to your neutral, to your expression of standing or seated mountain. And if you're interested in maybe a balancing form, so this balancing form can be done on a chair. So what you may like to do is notice where you place your feet, maybe looking, perhaps moving. Then if you like, bringing your hands to your knees and maybe pressing one foot into the ground, possibly lifting your other foot. You might feel sensation in your legs, maybe under your hands. So perhaps pressing one foot into the ground, maybe lifting and lowering your foot. And if you're standing, you're always welcome to have the support of a chair or another surface, and maybe shifting your weight into one of your legs, perhaps straightening your leg. If you like, lifting your heel off the ground, maybe lifting your foot and breathing. It's available, perhaps bringing the sole of your foot to the side of your leg. Perhaps lifting and lowering. So if you like, exploring a balancing form and breathe. So it's quite normal to wobble if you're balancing. And sometimes it's helpful to find a spot on the wall that's not moving. So maybe pressing one foot into the ground, possibly lifting your other foot and breathing. If you're pressing one foot into the ground, you may feel sensation in that leg. If you're standing, you may like to switch, perhaps exploring this on your other side, maybe straightening your leg, maybe shifting your weight, and if you like, lifting your heel, maybe lifting your foot, and breathing. So possibly exploring your expression of a balancing form. Maybe feeling sensation in your leg. And finding your way back to your seated or standing mountain in your own time. Perhaps bringing your awareness to notice where you make contact with the ground. Maybe taking a breath. And if you like, moving to explore what we sometimes call Warrior One. So if you like, moving to the side of your chair, perhaps holding your chair and maybe extending your leg. You could arrange your hand at your side, or out in front, or raised. Moving your hand to where it's useful for you. If you're standing, you may like to bring your awareness to notice where you feel stable, where you place your feet, and possibly stepping back with one foot. And you're welcome to move, maybe bending or having legs straight or bent or moving, finding your Warrior One. And if you like, bringing your hands to your side or out in front or raised and breathing. So maybe exploring Warrior One and breathing. Possibly noticing your breath is always with you. Ebbs and flows, comes and goes, and it's always there. In your own time, you may like to switch, maybe turning the opposite side, perhaps extending your leg behind and breathing. Maybe bringing your hand to your side or out in front. If you're standing, perhaps stepping back with your opposite leg. Maybe moving. Maybe hands out in front or at your side. And guiding yourself back to your neutral. Your standing or seated mountain in your own time. And then if you like, exploring Warrior Two. So if you're on a chair, what you may like to do is step your feet together, perhaps bringing your hands to your knees. If you like, stepping your feet apart and turning one foot out from your body. So maybe turning one foot away. You could raise your arms, maybe looking over your forward facing hand, or possibly bringing your elbow to your knee and leaning forward. So maybe finding your expression of Warrior Two. And if you're standing, maybe bringing your toes to the long edge of your mat and stepping your feet apart in your own time. If you like, turning one foot to face the short edge of your mat. Perhaps raising your arms, maybe looking forward, or, whoops, Daisy got the wobbles today, or bringing your elbow to your forward facing knee and breathing. Maybe raising your arm. So perhaps exploring your warrior two, and at any time you're welcome to move back to upright and explore this on your other side, maybe stepping your feet apart, perhaps turning one foot to face the long edge of your mat. If you like, raising your arms, maybe leaning forward and breathing. So perhaps switching and breathing. Noticing your breath is with you. And in your own time, finding your way back to neutral. And I'm just thinking I'm going to offer half moon from a chair. And one way of doing this could be to raise your arms. So knowing how much you raise your arms is up to you. And possibly raising your leg. Maybe switching and lifting and lowering. If you're standing, you may like to use a chair, perhaps bringing your hands to the back of your chair, possibly leaning forward. Oops. Try that way. Then maybe lifting and lowering your leg. So maybe lifting and lowering and breathing. So if you like, exploring your half moon, perhaps lifting and lowering and breathing. And finding your way back to neutral in your own time. Perhaps taking a breath. If you're interested in exploring bending your knees, you might like to maybe lift your feet off the ground, perhaps bring your hand around your knee, and maybe lifting your knee. If it's available, maybe lifting both knees. It's a choice. Maybe lifting your knee. If you are standing, you might like to experiment with bending your knee, but maybe bending. Knowing how much you bend is up to you. Alternatively, if it's available to you, maybe squatting and breathing. So maybe squatting, perhaps holding your mat and breathing. If you like, bending your knee. Maybe bending your knee. And then in your own time, you might like to find a way to move to a seated form. You're always welcome to remain standing or wherever you are. You don't have to do what I say. And if you like, exploring a twist. So if you're seated, you're welcome to have your legs extended or crossed or feet together. If you're seated on your chair, maybe bringing your awareness to notice where you place your feet, where you make contact with the ground. And if you like, sitting up tall. So if you want to explore a twist, maybe sitting up tall. So one option could be to turn your chin to your shoulder. Or maybe bringing one hand to your opposite knee and the other hand behind you and sitting up tall. If it's available, maybe twisting. But you get to choose how you want to twist. So maybe sitting up tall and breathing. At any time, you're welcome to move back to your neutral. Maybe sitting up tall. If you like, bringing your chin to your shoulder, perhaps hand to your opposite knee, or maybe one hand behind you and sitting up tall and breathing. So maybe twisting and breathing. Anytime, you're welcome to switch. Maybe twisting and breathing. And guiding yourself back to your neutral in your own time. So next I'm going to offer a form that usually is offered on your mat. I'm going to offer it seated. So if you're on a chair, maybe moving to the front of your chair, perhaps leaning, extending your legs, and maybe leaning back on your chair. If you like, bending your elbows and raising your arms. Perhaps pointing your toes and breathing. If you're on your mat, maybe moving onto your abdomen and perhaps bringing your elbows under your shoulders and hands on your mat. So maybe on your abdomen and breathing in what we sometimes call seal form. So perhaps raising your arms, maybe leaning back and breathing, perhaps moving your toes, maybe pointing your toes. And you're welcome to move in and out of the form at any time. And then when you're ready, finding your way to neutral. And if you like, moving onto your back, if you're on your mat, perhaps moving to explore moving your knees. So if you're on your mat, what you may like to do is bring your feet flat on the ground and maybe moving your knees. So if you're in a chair, perhaps bringing your hands to your knees, possibly moving your knees, and you get to choose the speed at which you move. Maybe moving one knee. If you're on your mat, maybe moving your knees. Another option could be to lift your feet off the ground and perhaps moving your knees. You might notice a change in sensation where you make contact with the ground. It's a possibility. So if you're seated, maybe moving your knees and breathing. And finding your way back to neutral in your own time. And if you like, moving your arms, maybe lifting and lowering. On your back, maybe lifting and lowering your arms. If you like, you could synchronize your breathing with your movement. So maybe breathing and moving. . Finding your way back to neutral in your own time. And just looking at my clock, we've got a little bit more time. And the next form is called a half bridge. I'm going to offer that seated first. So you might like to bring your awareness to notice where you place your feet. Maybe bringing your hands to your upper legs. And if you like, pressing your feet into the ground. Maybe pressing your feet into the ground. And you might feel yourself move. You might notice nothing at all, but perhaps pressing your feet into the ground. If you're on your mat, you may like to bring your feet close to your torso, possibly pressing your feet into the ground, maybe lifting and lowering your spine. So if you like, pressing your feet into the ground, maybe lifting and lowering. So perhaps pressing your feet into the ground, and you might feel some sensation in your legs. It's only a possibility. And then the last form for today is rotating your wrists or rotating your hands. So if you like, bring your hands to your side and maybe turning your palms forward and turning your palms backward. And maybe rotating your wrists. Maybe moving your hands and breathing. Perhaps rotating your wrists. Finding your way back to neutral in your own time. And if you like, finding a resting form that's useful for you. So that may be sitting in a chair or on the sofa. That may be lying on your mat, either on your front side, your side, or your back. It's up to you. If you're lying on your back, sometimes it might be helpful to put a cushion under your knees. It may offer you some support. So finding a resting form for this last part of the practice, you may like to take a rug, maybe using a rug. And then if you like, taking a breath, maybe bringing your awareness to notice where you make contact with the ground, the surface beneath you, maybe the chair. As you breathe out, you may like to bring your awareness to notice the support of the surface beneath you. Then in your own time, taking a breath. I'm going to offer a body scan exercise. You're welcome to take your mind to the parts I name. You're also just as welcome to tune my voice out. You're also welcome to move in resting form. If you want to wriggle or move, you're welcome to do that. If you want to move the part I name, you can do that. So in your own time, perhaps bringing your awareness to notice sensation at your eyebrow center. Sensation at the tip of your nose. Sensation in your jaw, maybe moving your jaw. Sensation in your neck. Sensation in your whole of your right arm, maybe moving your arm. Sensation in your neck. Sensation in the whole of your left arm. Sensation in your neck. Sensation in your heart center. Sensation in your abdomen. Sensation in the whole of your right leg. Sensation in the whole of your left leg. Sensation in your abdomen. Sensation in your heart center. Sensation at your neck. Sensation in your jaw. Sensation at the tip of your nose. Sensation at your eyebrow center. Sensation in the whole of your body, all of your body. Sensation in your entire body, all together. So now I'm going to offer some silence, and then I'll ring a chime and make an opportunity for you to close your practice. So do know there's no hurry to move. And when you do want to move, perhaps wriggling your fingers and toes, and maybe if you're on your mat, moving onto your side. If you like, taking a moment to notice. Sorry, I got that kind of wrong. Take a moment to acknowledge your practice, your purpose. Maybe it was to nurture yourself, perhaps connect with yourself. So if you like, taking a moment to acknowledge your practice. And if you like, taking a breath. When you do decide to move, move slowly. And perhaps taking a moment to orientate you to your surroundings again, reminding you where you are in your bubble at this time, in your home. I'm going to be here again at 12 midday tomorrow with a slightly different practice. It will still offer chair, but it will be a floor practice tomorrow with maybe some slightly longer holds of the form. And you can always do it however you like. One thing you might do to support me is I have had on my list to do is Te Reo, and I am trying to make some time for that. So if you're capable, fluent, or whatever in Te Reo, and there are some words that I'm using that you think, Joan could say maybe moanga, if you send me a message with maybe one word every day, that I would be extremely grateful. So my heart goes out. Take care. Be safe with your families, and aroha nui. See you tomorrow.